Hello and welcome back to part 26 video series on elementary logic for first year BA LLB semester 1. We are in module 4. This syllabus is as per Mumbai University. Today's video we are covering precising definitions of or in law. Let's understand what is precise definition. This we covered in the earlier video also, but here we'll cover it with special reference to law of torts, law of contract, and medical negligence. Let us first understand what is precise definition in law. When we talk about precise definition, it is basically aimed at clarifying or narrowing down the meaning of the term or concept, especially when the term is vague or ambiguous. In the context of law, a precising definition provides more specific, precise parameters that allow for easier application and interpretation in legal situations. It reduces uncertainty and ensures consistency in how legal concepts are understood and applied. In legal reasoning and the law, the goal of precising definition is to provide more clarity and prevent confusion in how terms are applied in the court. Legal concepts can often be broad and need to be narrowed down to avoid ambiguity. Let us start with precising definitions with special reference to legal concepts. First, we'll cover law of torts. There are two types, private and public nuisance. We'll be covering these two in this video. Private nuisance, a precising definition would specify the conditions under which one person's use of their property interferes with another's use or enjoyment of their property. The definition would outline what the important point is the definition of what a private nuisance is would outline what constitutes unreasonable interference. Example, noise, odor, or pollution, and the harm caused to the individual. For example, a person playing loud music at night in a residential area that disturbs a neighbor's sleep could be considered a private nuisance. A private nuisance occurs when an individual's use or enjoyment of their property is substantially interfered with by another person's actions. Now, let us look at the key elements. One is unreasonable interference and one is specific impact. The act must be such that it interferes with the ordinary comfort of living. Specific impact, it affects a particular individual or a limited group of people. As far as Indian context is concerned, private nuisance is actionable. Private nuisance is actionable under common law principles in India, with courts often applying precedents. Let's look at the public nuisance. The precising definition of public nuisance would narrow down what constitutes an act or condition that affects the community at large. It may involve obstruction of public ways or causing harm to the general public's health, safety, or comfort. For example, blocking a public road with an abandoned vehicle or contaminating a public water source could be deemed a public nuisance. Defined under Section 268 of the Indian Penal Code (IPC) as an act or illegal omission causing annoyance or injury to the public or people in general residing in or frequenting a particular area. Let us look at the key elements. It affects public health, safety, convenience, or morals, and it must interfere with rights common to all members of the public. In Indian context, legal action could be taken under the IPC or public interest litigation (PIL) in cases of large scale public nuisances. Example, polluting a river used by the public for drinking or irrigation. Next, let's look at the precising definition as far as law of contract is concerned. especially with relation to consent. Precising definition of a consent. In the context of contract law, consent is a precising definition that ensures both parties voluntarily agree to the terms of a contract. The definition must clarify that the consent given must be informed, free of coercion, fraud, misrepresentation, or undue influence. For example, if one party is forced into signing a contract under threat of harm, their consent is not valid and the contract may be void. The definition consent is defined under Section 13 of the Indian Contract Act of 1872 as two or more persons are said to consent when they agree upon the same thing in the same sense. Consensus ad idem. Key elements. Free consent. Section 14. Consent is free when it is not caused by coercion, which is under Section 15, undue influence under Section 16, fraud under Section 17, misrepresentation under Section 18, mistake from Section 20 till 22. Indian context, a contract is voidable if consent is not free, as specified in Section 19 of the Indian Contract Act. Example, if someone signs a contract under duress or threat, the consent is not free and the contract may be voidable. Medical negligence. Precising definition of medical negligence. In medical law, a precising definitions clarify the specific circumstances under which medical professionals fail to provide an acceptable standard of care resulting in harm or injury to a patient. This definition would define what constitutes a breach of duty, the standard of care required, and the direct causal link to the patient's injury. Example, if a doctor fails to diagnose a condition due to negligence and as a result the patient's condition worsens, this failure could be considered medical negligence. Definition: medical negligence in India refers to a breach of duty by a medical practitioner where the standard of care expected from them is not met, leading to harm or injury to the patient. The key elements in this is duty of care. The doctor must owe a duty of care to the patient. Breach of duty: the practitioner fails to meet the expected standard of care. Causation: the breach must directly cause harm or injury to the patient. Damage: the patient must suffer harm due to the breach. As far as Indian context is concerned, governed by principles laid out in the IPC Section 304A for criminal liability and Consumer Protection Act 1986 for compensation claims, the Supreme Court in Jacob Matthew v. State of Punjab 2005 held that negligence must be gross or of a very high degree to attract criminal liability. For example, a surgeon leaving a foreign object inside a patient's body during surgery causing harm. Purpose of precising definition in law: clarity and precision. By making ambiguous terms more specific, a precising definition reduces the possibility of a varied interpretations, helping to ensure fair and consistent application of the law. Legal certainty. It ensures that parties understand their rights, duties, and responsibilities in a clear manner, which can be crucial when it comes to enforcing legal obligations or assessing liability. Application in judicial decisions. Courts can apply the law with greater confidence when terms are clearly defined, allowing far more accurate decisions based on the facts and applicable laws. Private nuisance is covered under the common law principles we are just summarizing now, affects individuals or small groups, whereas public nuisance, covered under Section 268 of the IPC, affects the community or public at large. Consent under Indian Contract Act 1872 focuses on free consent and mutual agreement. Medical negligence under IPC Section 304A Consumer Protection Act involves a breach of duty leading to harm to a patient. Each of these concepts is crucial in understanding how the Indian legal system handles disputes and ensures justice through specific definitions and applications. Thank you very much. We finish here the part 4 of module 4. If this video has helped you, do consider sharing it with your friends or your WhatsApp group. Take care. Bye bye.